Thank you for tuning in to Nonprofits Talk. On this show, we discuss topics related to nonprofit capacity building, specifically in the areas of marketing and fundraising. I'm your host, Terrence Harrington. Tonight, our guest is Nora Brothel. Nora has over a decade of experience in nonprofit communications and formed Arcapana Consulting after a string of successes starting and building social media presences for nonprofit organizations. By designing and executing a social media strategy around annual fundraising events, Nora led one organization to its highest volume event in over 30 years, and increased traffic to another client's website by 65%. Dedicated to using social media for social good and to equipping nonprofits with the tools to increase giving, cause awareness, and volunteer engagement, Nora's clients now range from social impact businesses and political candidates to international nonprofits. Welcome to the show, Nora.
Thank you.
All right, tonight we're talking about using social media to plan and promote your event. So if you have any questions, give us a call at area code 312-738-1060. Again, 312-738-1060. All right, Nora, let's get right into it.
Great.
All right, so social media is a tool that nonprofits can use to promote their events.
Yes.
So how do they go about doing that?
Definitely. So social media, especially for smaller nonprofits with budgets under or giving under $1 million, individual giving under $1 million, social media has been proven to be 80% more efficient at recruiting new donors. And that's partially because it's a lot cheaper than other forms of fundraising like direct mail. And that's also because it can be a lot more efficient. You can speak to a larger audience with less time and effort on the organization's end.
So when we're talking about fundraising and social media, they're pretty much, two sides of the same coin because people are using both to network and get in contact with one another. So, what are the best times of day to promote and post about your event?
So best times of day would depend on when your audience is online. In order for you to figure out when your audience is online, you need to look at all of your analytics. Native to multiple social media platforms, including Facebook, which has Facebook Insights, and Twitter, which has Twitter Analytics, you can actually see when your users are online and you can plan accordingly. You can also use that data to then see what your users are interacting with so that you can see what type of content is exciting for them and what type of content you can use in the future in order to engage a wider audience.
So when we're talking about the analytics of the various social media platforms, let's talk about Facebook, for example.
Yes.
If I were to promote my event through Facebook, what am I looking for analytically, as far as the numbers are concerned?
So that also depends on the size of your organization's current audience and potential audience, right? So you want to make sure that you're using relevant hashtags, especially on a platform like Twitter or Instagram, which is very hashtag dependent. And you want to make sure that you're reaching out to the right network. So perhaps there's a Facebook group that the executive director or a really engaged volunteer is a member of that people could share that Facebook event to that Facebook group and invite more folks. On Facebook, native to the Facebook platform, you can actually create an event that when the event is live and friends see you RSVP, they get a notification in their newsfeed that you have RSVP'd to an event.
Okay.
And therefore, then, especially if they're on a mobile phone app, which most of us are when we're using social media, then they will actually see a suggested event. So it's important for people to RSVP on events on Facebook so that their network then sees that event listed as a suggested event for them.
All right, so we actually have a caller. Go ahead, caller.
First of all, let me say, Nora, you pretty.
Thank you. Thank you.
How effective, people still use telephones, places to solicit funds. How effective that still is, or is not very effective at all?
Thank you for the call, caller.
Thank you for the compliment as well. So I do not think that social media should completely replace other fundraising efforts. Rather, it should enhance other fundraising efforts. So I do not think that social media is a replacement for example, e-blasts or phone calls or anything like that. I think it is enhancement too, right? So I think phone calls are still a great way to get people engaged. Phone calls are a way that's an individual personal connection that if someone really needs that extra push to come to your event, that they can still do that and they will feel more connected via a phone call. But social media is a way to reach a wider audience and even a personalized tweet that goes to the public, right, because phone calls are not public, that allows you to be more searchable and more people may find your event that way.
Right, so when we come up with the idea of creating an event for our nonprofits, when should we start promoting it on social media?
So at least 3 to 6 months prior to the date of the event. So whether that event is an annual thing that you do every year, or whether that event is a crowdfunding campaign launch, you really want to do it, start your social media at least 3 to 6 months ahead of time. You want to vary your content so your content is not constantly about the event, so that you're posting articles and other things that are interesting and engaging to your audience that showcase your mission, and not just constantly come to our event, come to our event, come to our event. So make sure you're doing at least 3 to 6 months in advance, and make sure you're doing a content calendar that showcases that you have various content.
All right, so on the content calendar that you're speaking of, how often, how often during the week should we promote the event? Yes.
So I like to follow the 80-20 rule. 80% of the content that you post on social media should be content that is interesting and engaging for your audience. 20% being what we think of as the typical marketing content. So that call to action, whether it's come to our fundraising event or donate to our organization or take some other action, that should really only be about 20% of your content.
So using social media, should we use photographs, videos? What type of mixture should we use in order to promote the event?
Definitely. So pictures and videos are going to get 53% more engagement than other types of content on social media. So you really want to make sure that as much as possible that you can use tools like video and pictures. One of the reasons why Instagram is such a growing social network is because it is picture-based.
Okay.
And because Facebook owns Instagram, if you post on a Facebook status your Instagram pictures, I have found anecdotally from my clients that gets better engagement on Facebook than other types of content.
Oh, wow. That's good to know.
Yeah.
All right. So of the social media platforms, the big three, of course, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. How do we leverage those particular platforms to promote our event outside of using the pictures and videos and things of that nature? Right.
So Facebook being the biggest one, not only because of the amount of monthly active users, but also because you can actually create an event on that platform. And just recently, just in the last couple weeks, Facebook has started rolling out event subscription options so that someone can sign up on your Facebook page to actually subscribe to see all events that you host. It's key for nonprofits. LinkedIn is a great place for board members and other volunteers to list in their profile that volunteer experience, and then make sure they are connecting that to the organization's LinkedIn page. Again, that will garner a notification in their network's newsfeed that they have updated their profile. That's another way to raise brand awareness. You can also do recruitment on LinkedIn for new board members.
Okay.
You can see what skill set someone has before even having to talk to them. So looking at those skills and then specifically reaching out to people if they say on LinkedIn that they are open to serving on nonprofit boards.
Okay, awesome. Now, what free tools, we talked about analytics.
Yes.
So what other free tools exist that an organization can use to see whether or not their social media efforts are even working?
Yeah, so Hootsuite, Hootsuite, is a program that allows you to manage multiple social media networks, including your Facebook, your Twitter, your Pinterest, your Instagram, all of these other networks. They have a free version. The higher level versions you do have to pay for, but the lower level version is free.
Okay.
TweetDeck is another great place. Buffer is a tool, another social media management tool that lots of people in the nonprofit industry like to use. Again, this helps you gather data, it helps you monitor conversations, and it saves you time because you don't have to sign in and out each of the profiles.
All right. So nonprofits, I know you're out there and it's summertime and you're going to be hosting some events. So give us a call at area code 312-738-1060 if you have any questions pertaining to using social media, which is low overhead, doesn't cost you anything, to promote your upcoming events. Now, so speaking of tips, what tips can you discuss about harnessing time-saving scheduling tools like Hootsuite to promote the events? Other than Hootsuite, I know you mentioned some others. What are some other tools that are out there that nonprofits can use?
Definitely. So I understand that social media can be overwhelming for some nonprofits. There's a lot of conversations going on, and it's hard to stick out from all of that white noise. So my biggest tip for any nonprofit is do your research.
Yeah.
That doesn't take a lot of time to search a hashtag to see what's going on in conversation. And using those hashtags then to promote your organization and promote your mission. You can also save time by using social media to garner traditional press. So writing press releases and compiling email lists of journalists and that type of thing can take a lot of time, right? On social media, a lot of journalists, a lot of press organizations are there. You can follow, you can connect with them directly and have them see what you are doing, and saving some time not having to compile all of those email lists. Of course, personal connections are always going to be the best.
Yes.
So you should build personal connections with folks as much as you can. But social media can really be more efficient in putting that message out publicly, and then it's searchable. So anyone who's looking for that type of mission will be able to find you if you're on social media.
Awesome. So you said follow a hashtag. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so a hashtag is simply the pound sign with various characters after it. Hashtags, the importance of hashtags vary based on what network you are on. They are very, very important on Twitter and Instagram, for example, and not so valuable on LinkedIn. So you really want to research your hashtags. I did have one organization once using a hashtag that they thought was very benign, but they had not researched it ahead of time, and then it ended up being associated with someone in an industry that they definitely did not want to associate themselves with. So you do have to research your hashtags ahead of time. Make sure that if it is already something, hashtag can be used to insert yourself into a conversation that is already happening or to start a new conversation, right? So if you're going to do a branded hashtag, come up with a hashtag specifically for your event. Make sure that that is adding value to the conversation. So a hashtag not just being, Bob's for Kids 2015 annual dinner or something, but actually showcasing what the organization does and advancing the mission. So, for example, instead of just doing a hashtag about, say, a nonprofit is hosting a fashion show to benefit a charity, instead of just saying 2015 fashion show, say something like Fashion Empowers.
Okay.
And that way, you will advance your mission.
All right, awesome. Seems like we have a caller on the line. Go ahead, caller.
Good evening. Could you answer this question? It seems like over the years, a lot of the local television stations used to make announcements over different types of events that nonprofits would have. It seems like they have pulled back from that. Am I right in assuming that, or because of social media? Could you answer my question, please, if you can?
All right, thank you for the call. So I guess he's talking about the community calendars, but I think stations still have the community calendar, and you can use social media in conjunction with that, correct?
Definitely. So there still are some media outlets that host a community calendar. I would also look hyper-local. So what are the community blogs that may have a community calendar? For example, I know in Edgewater, in my community, there is a community blog that has a calendar that gets a lot of traction, and that's one place that nonprofits can post their events. So make sure that you're looking hyper-locally as well as in all of Chicago.
Gotcha. All right, so we have people who've signed up for our event.
Yes.
We still haven't reached the number that we want. How do we get those people to evangelize our events?
So what you're talking about is identifying brand ambassadors.
Yes.
And one of the ways to help your brand ambassadors, whether they're your board of directors or your event chair or just a really committed group of volunteers or staff members, it's important to involve the staff, of course, so they have ownership over the event. But identifying those brand ambassadors and providing them with the content. So sending them an example of what a tweet would be that you would like them to send out, notifying them of when you're going to be posting a Facebook post that you would like them to share, and really empowering them. They are not simply there to just retweet, right? But in really empowering them to add their message onto your content so that they can share with their network why they're passionate about your organization. Ultimately, that will be the most effective message for someone to give a personal testimony as to why this organization is important to them.
So let's talk about live Twitter feeds. How can we use that, and like you were talking about earlier, the custom hashtags to promote the event?
So one of the ways that live Twitter feeds can be really great at your fundraising event is to connect members in the audience that wouldn't have connected otherwise. So if, for example, you have a annual dinner and it's seated and you have, you've done your seating chart ahead of time, and people at table 1 might not have met people at table 20 if it weren't for the fact that you had a hashtag and people were live tweeting the event. If it's possible to have the technology at the event to showcase what the conversations are happening online, so a TV that would that would show the scrolling, conversations so that people can really connect with each other. That'd be great. Making sure that you're promoting what that hashtag is and that the online conversation is happening during the event. So if you have a speaker, making sure the speaker is announcing the hashtag, reminding people to tweet. It also can be really effective from a giving perspective. We all know that, of course, we have the little bit of crowd mentality, right?
Yes.
So we're going to do something. It's more likely we're going to take action on something if others are taking action. So if we see that other people are tweeting that they have donated to the organization because they are so moved by the organization's mission and event, we then will be more likely to take that action. So it's not only a way to increase interaction among the participants at your event, it's also a way to increase the giving at the event.
Wow. You gave me a lot of ideas right within that, because I didn't think about, being at the event, having some type of overhead projector, having the live feeds of tweets going on and, just creating that synergy within the event itself and, making people, more aware of what's happening.
Definitely.
And possibly getting some last minute people to buy tickets and come to the event based on the fact that they saw a tweet, online.
Exactly.
So how do you use free tools to keep the experience going after the event has happened? We had a successful event. Now we want people to start getting in the mindset for next year's event.
Yes, definitely.
Or the next event.
Yes. So some people don't realize that you can actually post in a Facebook event to all the people who RSVP'd even after the event is over. Most people think that you can just post in the actual event on Facebook leading up to the event, but you can go and post in it afterwards. So that would be a great place to share albums, pictures of the event so folks can tag themselves in the pictures. And again, the more people that are tagged, that will garner a notification in every one of their friends' news feeds saying, this person was tagged in this photo. It will garner more likes for the photo and eventually more engagement for the organization. So that is one great way to engage. There are other platforms by which you could host photos, Instagram, of course, being one. And there are apps that you can use with Instagram to do a collage of photos as opposed to just one at a time. And again, tagging people, making sure that you have identified what those individuals' Twitter handles or Instagram names are so that you can go in as the organization and tag. I also think it's really, really important for any event sponsors to get the proper thank yous on social media.
Oh yeah, didn't think about that.
So you definitely want to make sure that you're sharing whatever media you have from the event that also showcases the sponsor's logo. So if you had a sign at the event that thanked all your sponsors, share that sign on Instagram. Tweet that sign so that everyone is seeing what the sponsors really did at that event and tell that story.
Got you. So one of the things that I've noticed that going to some events where social media wasn't used was that the event wasn't that memorable because you couldn't relive it. So I'm thinking that social media allows you to relive the event. So speaking of reliving the event, how many team members will you utilize to really make the social media impact successful?
Yeah, so it depends a little bit on the size of your audience and the size of the event, how many team members you would need. But generally, it's great if you can have a team of people at the event, say one is in charge of Instagram, another is in charge of tweeting, what have you, so that people are following those conversations and interacting. So even when people are at the event and say they're using your custom hashtag, you want to make sure that the organization is responding, right?
Gotcha.
So every time someone uses that custom hashtag and they tweet that, you want to make sure the organization is providing an instantaneous response of thank you for coming, thank you for tweeting about this, especially if people tweet that they made a donation. Thank you, your donation is going to provide, 5 extra meals for kids this week or something like that, and really connect it back to the mission and make sure that conversation is ongoing online.
Awesome. So we mentioned in your bio that you helped an organization with their fundraising, connecting that event. Is that something that you can share, or not necessarily the organization, but some of the tools and methods that you use in order to take them to that next level using social media? Yeah,
so it was definitely a combination of the things that we've already spoken about. So starting early, we started about 4 months prior to the event in that example, making sure we were varying our content. So we were posting on all of the networks. In this case, it was Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, and Google Plus and Instagram that we were using for that organization. So we varied the content among those networks because, of course, you want someone to follow you on multiple networks, not just on one. So you have to give them different content so they continue to stay engaged with your organization. Because as we all know, in fundraising, you need multiple touches with someone before they're going to eventually, pull that trigger and give. So if your multiple touches start with social media accounts, then you've already done half the work going back to the efficiency point that we mentioned at the beginning. So in that case, we started early. We shared content that was varied. So everything from doing Throwback Thursday posts, #TBT, to showcase the organization's history, to then also showcasing the new stories of that organization as they were coming out, to promoting the sponsors of that organization's event, and to promoting the speaker of that event, and to promoting, we had a number of other people who were involved in that event, and to promoting them as well.
So how important was social media in securing sponsors?
It was extremely important. More and more grantors are looking at your social media following to evaluate how effective you are going to be at mobilizing an audience. Grantors don't necessarily want to see that they are going to be the only one funding your organization. So it's important for them to know that you have a robust individual giving program. And especially if you're new or smaller, one of the ways you can prove that is by showing your social media engagement. Now more and more campaigns and grants, especially from corporations, are done based on essentially popularity contests online. So who can get the most tweets with this particular thing in a short time period, who can get the most votes on a Facebook contest, that type of thing is becoming more and more common, especially with those corporate sponsors. So the bigger social media following you have, the more likely you are to be successful at something like that, and then the more likely you are that you can open the door to a relationship with a big potential sponsor.
Awesome. So we've covered a lot. We have a few more minutes to go. Any last minute suggestions as far as using fundraising? I'm sorry, social media to promote your fundraising event that you can think of off the top of your head?
Definitely take advantage of multiple networks. The audiences are very different depending on whether you're on Pinterest or Instagram or Facebook. So make sure that your organization is on multiple networks. But with that said, do not do something that you don't truly have time to devote to and to look at the analytics. So don't join a social network just because everyone else is doing it. Really look at if your audience is there and if it's going to be engaged there before you decide whether that's going to be worth your time and the organization's time. Really try and follow as much as you can that 80-20 rule of sharing content that is valuable for your audience and not always the call to action like asking for donations, because otherwise people are going to tire of that pretty quickly. And have a little fun. I think a lot of times with nonprofits, we're doing such serious work and it's a very serious mission, but that doesn't mean that we can't inject humor. And, there's nothing about hope that is sad.
That's true. That is so true.
We want to make sure that you're showcasing that hope that your organization is providing, that influence, and doing it in a way that's going to be engaging and fun for people online. I would say my last tip is remember that social media is a conversation and not a billboard. So going back to varying your content, but also to really talking to people. Are you thanking followers when you get new followers on Twitter? Or are you posting things that would be really relevant to them, whether or not it's something that's directly related to your mission? Are you sharing their content? So if a big organization, a potential funder, or a corporate sponsor follows you, are you engaging with them to ensure that you're helping share their content, right? You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. Social media is very much a place of conversation, and it's a great democratizer of communications. So smaller nonprofits, you really have an opportunity here to take advantage of these different resources.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You've covered so much great information as far as using social media to promote events that, nonprofits, take heed to this information. If you didn't get a chance to call in tonight, we're definitely going to post this show on our website. And if you want to learn any more about Nora's organization, we want you to visit our website at www.nonprofitsmatter.org, and you're going to find all of her contact information. And also, we want you to tune in to next week. We're going to be talking with our guest, Tamora Walls Hughes, and we're going to be talking about Grant Proposal Writing 101. So again, thank you for tuning in to Nonprofits Talk. We appreciate your time. We appreciate Nora showing up tonight and giving us such valuable information. See you next week. Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Thank you.